Oh, hello. My name is Mara, and welcome to Books Like Woe. So, this is another little detour before we finish out Project Poirot, away from reading an actual book. If I remember rightly, timing-wise, next week we are reading Curtain, and that is the last novel that we will read, the last work of fiction we will read in this project. So yeah, it's getting real, guys. It's getting a little sad. But this week I wanted to go through, I wasn't totally sure how to talk about this topic because I'm not necessarily recommending books. I'm more just showing you my Agatha Christie book collection that is not actual novels from her. So these are all books about Agatha Christie or about her work. And some of them I'm going to specifically say, yeah, this is good, I've read it. And others, like, I haven't necessarily read them yet. I have a lot of other ones, and I wonder, I had them in college, and I think they must be somewhere in my parents' attic. Because when I was getting this together, I was like, didn't I have this one and that one? But anyway, so I'm going to just tell you guys, kind of just show you what I've got. And then I'll also mention two books that I don't have yet, but that are like on my radar and I would like to acquire. So without further ado, this is just a quick little like, hey, here's my collection of books about Agatha Christie video. So I guess maybe I'll start with the ones that I have read and do recommend. Two of these I use pretty frequently when I'm researching for my videos. Most of my research I do through articles online. I do have access to some scholarly articles, and that tends to be more where I go. But I do have two books in my collection that I kind of look at sometimes. One is Agatha Christie's Secret Notebooks by John Curran. Side note, my aunt's dog ate this, so there you go. I think that this book is interesting. I'm not sure how like truly useful it is, but basically this is showing you like a lot of like the kind of notes that Agatha Christie made about various books. And yeah, sometimes I'll just check this out to see if there's any additional insight that I can gain from that. He also has, I think, a sequel that's pretty similar to this, like the same type of thing. I forget what it's called, but I enjoy this book, but didn't enjoy it so much that I felt the need to pick that one up. I will say that there's a couple of previously unpublished short stories in this one. I think Greenshaw's Folly is one of them, because I know I've read that and I think I read it in here. But anyway, yeah, this might be of interest to you if you are a Christie head. And then the one that I would say is my primary reference when I'm doing my videos in terms of a book that I have is the detective novels of Agatha Christie, A Reader's Guide by James and Boy. Now, I primarily read this because he puts me in my place. Whenever I think that I've had a unique insight, I come in here and I'm like, he already thought of that. Great. What's interesting is while I think we read these books very similarly in terms of what stands out to us, our opinions differ very radically. Like, he'll be like, this is a good first Christie, and I'm like, no, it's not. But anyway, this goes through literally every book she ever wrote. And so, yeah, if you're ever looking for just sort of like a reader's guide right there in the subtitle, this is a pretty good one. Then, of course, we have a book I read recently and just absolutely loved, which is her autobiography. If you are somebody who enjoys Agatha Christie, I gotta tell you, I really think that this is worth your time. I really, really enjoyed this, and actually so did Dane when we did the buddy read of this together. He also really enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean, it's a memoir / autobiography. That's a genre that's not for everyone, and it's of Agatha Christie, and she's a subject that is not for everyone. But if there's overlap for either of those two categories, definitely recommend this. I really enjoy it. On the line of autobiography, and actually having read her actual autobiography, I'm now much more eager to get to these two. It's essentially a travelogue of travels with each of her husbands. So with her first husband, we have the Grand Tour, Letters and Photographs from the British Empire Expedition. And she took this journey, I think, in 1922. She took a trip around the world, basically, with her husband and her husband's employer. And my understanding is this is like her letters and her notes and just like pictures and stuff. So I'm really curious to get to this because I found her description of all of her travels in her autobiography very interesting. And on a similar note, Come Tell Me How You Live, Memories from Archaeological Expeditions in the Mysterious Middle East. This was with her second husband because he was a noted archaeologist of that region. And so yeah, I'm just excited to get to more insight she has on her life during this period. Like I said, I think it's just, she writes really well about her life. It's a fascinating period of history, one in the 20s, one probably in the 30s and 40s, of, you know, places around the world and kind of a colonialist or empire view of those places. So yeah, I'm excited to get to these. I've never read them, but like, want to. Another, like kind of a more general reference one is the New Bedside, Bathtub, and Armchair Companion to Agatha Christie. My mom got this for me at a used bookstore, and I've kind of like skimmed it a little bit for various books that I've talked about after having received it. And I don't know that it's like the most authoritative text, but it's definitely like a very amusing book and something that's interesting to read. So like, yeah, if you ever happen to cross this in your travels, like I've enjoyed the little snippets I've read of it. One that I think is going to be super interesting, just because I don't know very much about this part of her life, is Curtain Up, Agatha Christie, A Life in the Theater. So I think there's a good chance you've heard of The Mousetrap. I have had the pleasure of seeing The Mousetrap in the West End, and yeah, it was really entertaining. I went with my mom, and I think I was less thrilled by it in terms of like, I kind of figured out what was going to happen, but my mom was like along for the ride and really enjoyed it. Anyway, it's a great play, and she wrote like a number of really popular plays for the West End, some of which were adaptations of her novels, some of which she later wrote a novel based on the play, I think, and some of which are just like wholly original. So yeah, I'm interested to learn more about this part of her life, because it's, like I said, something I know virtually nothing about. And then this one is more of just sort of like a general like exploration of the authors during the golden age of murder, the golden age of detective fiction writing, which was really kind of like the interstitial war years. And I don't know a lot about this, but I do know that it won an award from, I think, like an Edgar Award, which is, you know, a legit literary prize. And yeah, anything having to do with this topic is always of interest to me. So yeah, I'm excited to get to this eventually. And like I said, it's not specifically Agatha Christie, but she's definitely like a prominent feature of this time in history. And then two others that I don't have but are on my like TBR in terms of like I plan to acquire them and read them eventually. One is Poirot and Me by David Suchet, and it's a memoir, I think, basically recounting his experience playing Poirot for so many years, and I love those adaptations, so I'm definitely interested to get to that at some point. And then finally, the title of the other one is I'm reading it over here, Queering Agatha Christie, Revisiting the Golden Age of Detective Fiction by James Bernthal. I'm just interested in this topic because there's a lot, like more than I thought, kind of references to queerness, gayness in Agatha Christie, and there's a lot of like places where it could be implied, and I don't know, I'm just interested in the topic. So I've heard good reviews of it. I think All About Agatha mentioned it as a really good book, so yeah, I'm interested to get to that one eventually. But yeah, that's my little collection of books about Agatha Christie, and a couple of ones that I'm wanting to get. Like I said, not a lot of recommendations, I guess, in this, but just in case I've had some people request like, oh, do like a tour of your Agatha Christie collection, and actually most of my Agatha Christie is in ebook or audio form, because that's just personally my preference in terms of collecting her. I do have some of those like pretty hardback ones, the leathery ones, and then I have these like facsimile editions that I'm wanting to get a few of, but by and large, like I don't know that would be that interesting, so I thought this might be kind of a nice substitute for that, and something a little bit different. So anyway, I hope you guys were okay with something a little out of step with Project Poirot. Like I said, next week I believe we will be back on track to talk about the very last Poirot book, so, you know, get your tissues and strap in. I've not read it yet as of this recording, so I don't know what I think of it. We shall see. I think that will do it for me, so if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below, and I think that will do it. I hope you're having a really good one, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!